Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Hall of Famer Bob Berry ruled Milwaukee's airwaves in the 60s and 70s. He spoke with countless musicians and celebrities over the years. Bob collected remarkable recordings of these encounters, which he's now sharing with the public. Here's Bob.
Until 1967, Dennis James appeared on television more times than any other TV star. He was the first person to raise more than $750 million for United Cerebral Palsy. He hosted the Cerebral Palsy Telethon for 47 years with Paul Anka, Florence Henderson, and others. Dennis started out on radio at WAAT in Jersey City and then WNEW in New York City. On television, he worked on The Price is Right, Let's Make a Deal, and Truth or Consequences. Dennis guest starred on 77 Sunset Strip and Fantasy Island. On the big screen, he appeared in Rocky III and others. He was the on-air spokesman for Old Gold cigarettes and Kellogg cereals.
A box of matches and a pack of Old Gold cigarettes. That's all you need, my friend.
Dennis James is on the air with us this morning. Bob Berry calling the world. I'm sure Dennis has heard this many, many times. That I grew up listening to you, Dennis, on many, many programs. One being the original Amateur Hour. You were the announcer there with Ted Mack. Syndicated version of The Price is Right. The name's the same. Name that tune. Chance of a Lifetime, that was a talent show. Can You Top This in syndication in 1969 and 70. And he was also the Dumont sports announcer for boxing and wrestling. That was all in the New York area, wasn't it?
Right. Yeah, I worked out in the New York area, the Columbia Park and the Yankee Stadium and Madison Square Garden. And we beamed it all across the country.
I know you were on Fantasy Island, too. I missed that one. What was your fantasy?
Well, actually, I was making some girl's fantasy come true, to make her a beauty queen.
Ah.
And I was in a thing just recently called Old Madeline. You remember Old Madeline show? That was with Madeline Kahn.
Oh yeah, sure. What was the favorite the thing that you enjoyed doing the most out of all the programs that you've been announcer on and participated in?
Well, believe it or not, I've been in the business since 1938, and I had 3 shows that I loved doing. One was a show called Club 60 out of Chicago. I was not a Chicago boy. I went there to do it. We had an hour's color show every day with Joe Galicchio on a 35-piece orchestra. Mike Douglas was a vocalist. We had the Mellow as a group. It was an hour every day. It was sort of the forerunner, really, of some of the, like the Tonight Show,
Mm-hmm.
That's one show I enjoyed. The second show was Chance of a Lifetime because it helped to discover people like Jonathan Winters and Dick Van Dyke and Diane Carroll.
Gee.
So when you can see somebody's career blossom and watch them to this day, that's always fun. Third, the telethons. I've been doing the telethons now for 34 years. I've seen kids who are little crippled youngsters grow up to be able-bodied men and women with families of their own. So that carryover is a thrill. It's a lot better than just giving away a toaster.
Dennis James is talking about the United Cerebral Palsy Telethon, which is going to be on this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, on Channel 12 here in Milwaukee. This is the 7th annual Weekend with the Stars Telethon. And the local portion is going to be live at the Mark Plaza Hotel. The national segments will star John Ritter and Dennis James. How did you get started doing the Cerebral Palsy Telethon?
A long time ago, they wanted to start doing a telethon, and a man named Bob Whiteman, who was head of all the Paramount Theaters, who had worked for Leonard Goldenson. Leonard Goldenson is chairman of the board of ABC Network, and he had a cerebral palsy child, and so did Jack Hausman and his family. So they started United Cerebral Palsy. They started this telethon, and they were going to have a different star do it every half hour. Gleason and Buttons. And when my half hour came on from 11 o'clock to 11:30, fortunately the phone started to really go crazy, and Bob Whiteman said, hey, keep the kid on, and let all the other personalities work with him. So that's how it came into being that I did the overall 22 hours.
In all the times that you've done a lot of live programming because they didn't have tape at some of those programs. Did anything happen that you remember that was kind of embarrassing or?
Well, as a matter of fact, just this week, it's funny that you should ask if they had a segment of me on Entertainment Tonight, where I was telling the story of working for Old Gold Cigarettes. I was their spokesman. You mentioned the Ted Mack Amateur Hour.
Mm-hmm.
We started as my being the spokesman for Old Gold on that, and then they sponsored my Chance of a Lifetime show. And coast to coast, I said, on an Old Gold show, all of America's changing to ye old Lucky Strike. And when I said it, I didn't even hear myself say it. We introduced an act. I came backstage, and somebody said, did you hear what you said? Andy Williams said, you just said Lucky Strike. I said, oh, sure, I always do. With that, there's a whole group saying, yes, he did, no, he didn't. I dialed home, and my wife said, how did it happen? So I said, I did it. On the sequel to it, Bob, is the following week. We're all sitting around at the country club, Westchester Country Club in New York, all the people from Old Gold, Pete Orlard, and Ben Duffy, head of the agency for Lucky Strike, walked up to me and he handed me a check for $25,000. He said, by George, you said you'd do it, but we didn't believe it. But it was a bogus check. That's the story. And there's 2 or 3 of those things.
Well, we'll watch for you on the Weekend with the Stars Telethon this Saturday and Sunday on Channel 12 here in Milwaukee. Dennis, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Bob. Nice talking to you. I'm glad you're feeling better. Hi, this is Dennis James. Bob Barry's going to call the world. Now that's the amateur hour.
Bob Berry, WOKY 9092.
Thank you for listening to Bob Berry's Unearthed Interviews. Be sure to subscribe and rate our podcast on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts. You can find all the episodes at WisconsinBroadcastingMuseum.org. Check out Bob Berry's book, Rock and Roll Radio Milwaukee. Book sale proceeds support Angels Kids Fund and Donate Life Wisconsin. The preceding program was made possible by a generous contribution from Terry Bond.